Hello and welcome to First Crack. We've got a big show ahead. We're going to have a look at the Dogs' defensive issues as well as the Pies and the Blues on the agenda as well. My name is Jay Clark and I'm excited to join this man. He was smooth as silk across 322 games, three-time All-Australian. It's Nick Del Santo. Hello to you, Del.
Good evening, Jay. Looking forward to the next hour with you.
Lots on the agenda, mate. And this man, he's always with us, the two-time All-Australian. 287 games at St Kilda. Hello, Tulio.
Hello, Jay. Hello, Del.
Hello, Joey. You look at... I do watch this show every week, Jay-Z, and I've replaced Kingy, and I understand the responsibility of Kingy and what comes with it, with all the accessories, but you look a little bit different tonight, Joe.
Big night for me.
Huge night.
Got my own laptop. Kingy never lets me have it, so tonight, Kingy, I've got the laptop, and I'm proud of it.
Now,
use it wisely.
Kingy actually just looks at a blank screen.
So that's all I've got.
You've actually got
Tetris.
some stats up there. Hey, another big Sunday in the AFL, of course. The D's by 36 points over North Melbourne. Sydney by 5 points over St Kilda, a thriller. And then Port Adelaide by 26 over West Coast at Adelaide Oval. And Joey, it leaves the ladder looking like this. And it is an absolute logjam in the bottom half of that top eight. I know I struggle to get you excited about the ladder at times. But look at that. The race is on for still a double chance for all those clubs.
No, it is. I just can't think of anything more to say week after week because it's very similar. It really is. Like, top four is still available to any of those teams as he's missing the finals. And I was thinking maybe you start to look at Brisbane and Adelaide and go, right, maybe they are separating themselves top four. But you look at their runs, like Brisbane have got the Western Bulldogs, Gold Coast, Collingwood the next 3 weeks. Adelaide have got Gold Coast, a showdown, which is always tough, and then Hawthorn. So you can't guarantee that they're going to be staying in the top four. Geelong have the easiest run coming up over the next month. They'll be favourites in all of them. And the other teams that are on 44 points have got to keep winning. So still a lot to play out, and there's still going to be some twists and turns. But those teams have got to keep winning. If someone drops away form-wise, well, they are the one in danger of missing out.
And the little twist is the Gold Coast Suns have still got an extra game up their sleeve against the Bombers. So we'll wait to see where that gets released. And it's that time of the year, we're all in the same boat where we're doing our ladder predictor, trying to work out exactly who will make the final eight. The challenge with that is I average 5 tips correct per week. So it gets thrown out straight away. But I think as a football fan and just broadly, regardless of who you support, we're in a really good position once again. It's the longest season we've ever had. There's been a lot of challenges throughout the course of that, but we still don't really know what the final eight's going to be. And I think as a footy fan, that's a really good thing.
The Bulldogs are the ones who are under the pump. They got Brisbane on Thursday night. They lose that, they can fall 2 games behind the top 8. So Luke Beveridge's men are under the pump. And that leads me, Joey, to your first crack.
Yeah, well, that's where I start because I think it was an opportunity on Saturday for the Western Bulldogs to make a statement against another contender. And I think they did. And the statement for me was that they are not ready to win the flag yet. 2025 is not the year of the dog. I think the record now shows, and we've seen enough body of work this season, to say they are going to come up short. And there's no way I can see them come finals time winning 4 games in a row against the very best teams to win the flag, and that's the record now. So it is 1-7, and you can look at some of the wins, the losses, and they've all been pretty narrow margins. But really, even like the game on Saturday, it never really felt like they were going to win. The Hawthorn game was disappointing. Some games earlier in the year to Gold Coast, Geelong, Brisbane as well. So I just think right now they are a rung below the real contenders for me. But it was interesting to take a listen to what Luke Beveridge said about the record against the other top 8 teams.
Yeah, I know that's the narrative, but ultimately, you can look at it in 2 different ways, in a really pessimistic way like that, or an optimistic way in that we put ourselves in a position where at least we're in the mix to give ourselves a chance, at the end of the year.
So it starts with their defence, and I am in the pessimistic camp. I don't think it's quite yet. And you take a look at some of the reasons why. And the first one is the points against. This is against top 8 v top 8, or the top 9 playing against the top 8. And it's amazing that the teams in the top 8 of the ladder are the best teams at points against the other top 8. But then you've got the Western Bulldogs down at 13. So they're almost 3 goals worse defensively than all those other teams against the best in the competition. So that's why, for me, we've been banging on about it, Jay, for a number of weeks now. It's just not quite there yet. That is a big factor for me. But also,
why, Joey? Why do they?
Well, it's a bit of personnel, a bit of their system.
Luke Beveridge wants to play 2 key defenders only, doesn't he? James O'Donnell and Rory Lobb, and they got absolutely smashed by the Crows' big forwards.
Yeah, they did, and maybe he needed to look at that and play the third tall. He wanted to back in the medium size, the Caulfield and Bailey Williams type, but they weren't able to get it done. But the other big factor, and why it's not necessarily a knock on the Dogs that it's not this year, is for me, I think they're 12 months away. I think they will be cherry ripe come 2026, because when you take a look at the list of the teams that played on the weekend that had under 50 games experience, they had 9. So to put that in comparison, Collingwood and Hawthorn only had 3 players on the weekend under 50 games experience. Then you had the teams like Adelaide, Brisbane, Fremantle, Giants that have got 5 or 6, and only Geelong and Gold Coast had 7 players with less than 50 games, and this team's got 9. So I still think they're a little bit away. I know their top end is as good as you get. They've got 5 of the top 20 players in the competition at the moment. Bontempelli couldn't have done any more. But I just think, Dale, these guys need another pre-season. O'Donnell, another pre-season under his belt. Sam Darcy, how scary he could be with another year. And a couple of those other guys that have still got a lot of improvement. Because, Jay, when we look at the game, I just felt they weren't quite able to match Adelaide, not just with the defensive prowess, but their ability to get after them. And their tackle numbers were really disappointing. It was a record low for the Western Bulldogs with their ability to stick their tackles. And watching it, Dale, I just thought Adelaide just looked the more mature team. I think Adelaide are 12, 18 months advanced on the Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, there's a couple of pieces within this. Is who are the Adelaide Crows right now? Who are they brushing off? Now, some of this is some young players, which you can absolutely expect. But there's some mature bodies within this as well. So I'm not as sold that they're 12 months away. I don't think there's any guarantee because you play those young guys that means that they will necessarily be better year on year. But the other risk is you're speaking about them not winning the grand final this year or not a contender. They might not even make the 8.
Well,
so there's a big difference between that. Now, I do agree that I think there is growth within this group, but I look at someone like Marcus Bontempelli, who was absolutely enormous.
Unbelievable.
Out of control good. But how many of those senior players can get better? Marcus can't get any better.
He doesn't need to. He just needs to stay at that level for another couple of years.
If you're Marcus, how long can you wait for this next group to come through? What does his game look like?
I think he's excited about the next 2 years. I think the window is the next 2 years. And now they can still, and probably will, play finals with the draw they've got. I just don't think they're going to win 4. They're not going to finish top 4, unlikely. So to win 4 games in a row
I agree with that.
in September when you're 1-8, I don't think it's going to happen. And that's okay. They're just not ready yet. But next year, watch out. Because this was really their best team, Jay. They were only missing Adam Treloar, who's now like a fringe. Will he get back? Otherwise, they chose to leave out a lot of other players. Jones and Duray and Karmas and Harms was available. So this is who they want to go with. And I think Luke Beveridge will probably know he's 12 months away and wants to continue to play these guys. Waitman will come back. The only other name I want to ask is where Jamara is at. I mean, there's a bit of talk. I'm not planning on thinking life with Jamara will be there for the Dogs, but any update on that?
Yeah, so he didn't train at all this week, so he's still some time away from even pressing for a VFL game. So no real progress this year. He's back in Warrnambool or Framlingham after a recent funeral, so wasn't on the track this week. So you still think that he's got to make that considerable block, that sustained block of training that's going to put him in the mix. He wants to play senior footy. I still think that is very unlikely. Yep. He's got to play VFL first.
Well, the question is, offensively, they don't really need Jamara. Offence isn't an issue.
Yep.
It is the defence. So I'm interested to see what Luke Beveridge does with his coaching staff for the remaining, say, 6 regular season games. Do they actually try and tidy up this defence? You had him as number 13, but if you want to stop the scoring against, you probably need to slow your offence down a little bit to support your defence. So you might take away from offence to improve defence, so you need to find that balancing act. Who do they want to be in 12 months' time?
They've got to look after that ball more because I think Adelaide scored 11 goals, 8 off turnover.
Yeah.
That's a season high, so they're going to have to look after the footy to help protect that defence a little bit, and part of that is sticking those tackles. So this week there'll be the focus on the key defenders and the one-on-one marking contest losses with the Adelaide Crows big guns kicking 11 goals. It is up the field, whereas a football club.
But Jay, turnovers inevitable. Every team turns the ball over. You've got to be able to defend it better. Dogs aren't there yet, but maybe next year, but they could still play finals.
Nicky Del Santo, what is your first?
Well, as we touched on regarding the ladder, there's a real logjam between about 4th and 9th, and they're still trying to find exactly who gets the double chance and who ultimately doesn't get to play in September. And there was one game this weekend I was really keen to have a look at. It was the Fremantle and the Hawks. Now, we saw what Fremantle has done the last couple of weeks, but in particular, Caleb Sarong.
Yep.
Now, this kid's a star. We've seen the numbers that he's put up. But what we've seen in the last couple of weeks, he played against the Saints 2 weeks ago. Marcus Windhager kept him to 18. Freo wins that game, but they're down by 3 goals at three-quarter time. Sarong hasn't had a huge influence. Last week, they take on the Sydney Swans, and James Jordan just does an absolute number on him. Yep. Season low numbers, clearances, disposals, and all that comes with it, and the Sydney Swans win. So then Thursday night, I'm like, OK, what's Sam Mitchell going to do here?
It's coming.
And in comes McGuinness. I said, brilliant move. I love it. He's known to be a tagger. He can run out of sight, so there's no issue with his ability to go toe-to-toe, step for step with Sarong. But he starts as the sub. I thought, OK, interesting. Don't know why they do that, but let's see how this plays out. He came on roughly halfway through the third quarter. So in the first half, Sarong's had 17 disposals. The tail's up. He's getting the football. They're feeling good, and they're right in the game. But even when McGuinness comes onto the ground, he still doesn't go to him. And I found that really unusual. Now, listen to Sam Mitchell's post-game presser. He didn't feel like Sarong and Brayshaw had a huge influence on the game. But Sarong was a part of that midfield that ultimately got it done. And Sarong was the second-rated player on the field. So I felt like they gave him a chance. They gave him a chance to find his feet again after a really difficult fortnight. We've seen that the tag can work against Sarong.
Too friendly.
They had him.
Got it right.
They had the player. Finn McGuinness can do this role. He's done it before, and they let him off the hook. And as a result, Hawthorn ultimately lose the game, only by 13 points. It could have been the difference, but now Hawks are right in that logjam once again. They could have gone into fourth. Could have been sitting in fourth and had that extra game on everybody else.
I think Caleb Sarong is the head of the Fremantle Snake, and you pointed this out before, Joey. To take down Fremantle, you've got to take him down. He's the heartbeat of it all, so maybe that was a bit of a missed opportunity.
Felt like they missed one there. They had the piece, and he was on the bench.
What's your first crack?
My first crack is Cherry on ice. Tristan Cherry, the North Melbourne ruckman, and some people think will be the All-Australian ruckman, certainly the Kangaroos' best player. He's set for a long holiday. He'll get a 3-match ban for a clumsy hit on Melbourne's Tom Sparrow, which sparked a melee on ground, and for good reason. Look at that. The Melbourne players are all over him. They saw him. Poor Tommy Sparrow was concussed on the spot, so that's quite a remonstration there. Watch his swinging arm with the left. So Tommy Sparrow's head is over the ball. He's in possession, and that is a careless strike from Tristan Cherry. Now, there was a fair bit of niggle in this game, particularly in the ruck battle matchup in the point leading up to that, and that is just a careless strike. So, Joey, that's careless. It's clearly high, and it's severe on impact. Now, consistent with all the other suspensions, that's a 3-match ban for very important points.
I don't know what your take is, but I've got no doubt that they will challenge that, because I think you can easily make a case that that's not a careless action. It was just accidental. That wasn't a swing arm like Connor Nash's a few weeks ago, where it was a real swing.
He was going for the ball, was he?
Well, he was trying to make a tackle. The arm was there, and
he was trying to make a tackle.
Yeah. What was it? Was he trying to hit him in the face?
Yeah, I thought it was a very clumsy high swing, and that's what makes it careless.
See, this was careless. That's a big roundhouse. I don't think what you saw with Tristan Sherry's was a roundhouse. That was a bit of an arm action that was a bit clumsy. And if you actually watch the Tristan Sherry one, like, these are careless. These are dangerous swinging arms. Sherry was a split second in front of him. I reckon if you have a look at that slow-mo of Tristan Sherry again, his arm, if Sparrow had have stayed upright, would have been at the chest. Unfortunately, because Sparrow had leant forward with a slight push, it turns from there to there. It was an ugly look for Tom Sparrow, and we hope he as well. But I think that the Kangaroos have got a great case to argue here that this was accidental. And we've spoken about this. Just because a player gets concussed doesn't automatically mean you have to suspend a player. There has to be a careless act. And if you look at that, it's just a split second, trying to slap the ball out, trying to make a tackle. He gets him high. And I think they could have a case to argue, Dale. What do you reckon?
Poor Tommy Sparrow's out before.
No, he is, and I hope he's okay.
So the first piece is you hope he's okay.
Yep.
I see that completely different to the Connor Nash one, because I feel like Nash had more space within that contest and chose to wind up and cop.
Do you think that's careless? Do you think that's careless or accidental?
If he was not trying to hit him, what was he trying to do?
I would not be shocked if that got off, but I think he's going to get 3, because that's the system that we're living in. I think we still need space in the game to say that was... When we say split second, that was within, half a metre of the ruck craft to follow up, which all rucks are taught. Compete in the air, play at ground level.
He could argue that arm action happens 10,000 times in a game. That arm action in a contest. Now, unfortunately, it got him, and obviously got him flush, and that's the concern. But you can't say that arm action was a careless act on a footy field.
I don't think that's at all Tom Sparrow's fault, though.
No. What's the key question? What are you trying to do? If you're Tristan Cherry, what are you trying to do with that arm?
Oh, you're making a play on the ball, you're trying to make a tackle. I tell you what he's not doing is he's not trying to hit Sparrow in the face. That's what he's not doing.
There it is.
Are you saying he was trying to hit Sparrow in the head?
I think it was really careless. It was just clearly a careless action. He comes in high with his arm. Well, not intentional, careless. That's why.
Then every high tackle in the game is careless.
Well,
you tackle someone high in a game, it's careless. That doesn't mean everyone's getting suspended for high tackles.
Yeah, angry he gets when he jumps up out of his seat.
One laptop.
Let's have a listen. Let's have a listen to the two coaches, Melbourne, Simon Goodwin, and North Melbourne's Alistair Clarkson, on this contentious issue.
We're at the discretion, they'll look at every concussion, but they looked like LDU's concussion last week and said no case to answer. This is just a tackle that he's got very, very little time to prepare for the tackle. But unfortunately in the game there's just going to be collisions, especially around stoppage, and especially for the big rucks.
Well, I haven't really had a good look at it, and I don't really want to make any comment on it other than my first concern was for Tom and his family. Like, it looked nasty. And clearly when someone goes down like that you love and you care about, like his teammates do, they're going to rally around him, which they did. So, as I said, my first concern was with Tom.
Very clever man, Goody. I don't want to make any comment on it, but that was a nasty hit, is what he just said. Look, and the ruck battle did flip the script on the earlier matchup. Max Gawn wanted to turn the tables today because back in round 2, you saw that Tristan Xerri had an outstanding game, really, in the North Melbourne win. That was a thunderblow to Gawn. We're talking about Xerri. He's taking his crown, his mantle as the number 1 ruckman in the caper, but certainly Gawn today. And Gawn wasn't amazing, but he had the better of Tristan Xerri in the ruck
definitely.
battle
I was
today.
at that game in round 2. And the Kangas absolutely did a number on the Ds, and it was led by Xerri in the midfield. That's where it came from. But then what you start to remember pretty quickly is Max Gawn's a pretty proud guy.
Yep. And
he's really good at football. And he's just remind us once again, I currently hold the All-Australian. If you want it, you better do something that's better than what I've done for a long time here, young fella. And he did. I mean, he hasn't had a great year even kicking from goal. I think that was his 4th for the year from memory. But he goes back and slots that one. They were combative the whole game, and rarely, if ever, do we still get those real good one-on-one battles. Now, we have the ruck battle because they don't, hand over and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
That felt a little bit personal today. That was Max Gawn saying, hey, no, it's still my blazer as it currently stands.
I am still the big dog.
That's correct.
Max Gawn, you're right. A lot of pride at stake here. But what about Jake Melksham? This was almost the story of the game for me. 5 goals for the veteran. He's 33 years old, Lee Montana, and he's become Melbourne's most threatening forward. Now, Kasai Pickett is he's a midfielder these days. He's a goal-kicking midfielder, kicked 29 for the season. This man, who started the season after a hamstring injury, has caught fire with 14 goals in the past 3 matches.
I think he's the last player since David Neitz to kick 4+ in 3 consecutive games for Melbourne.
Yep.
I mean, he now might be the poster boy for the veterans. I know it was the Sidebottom and Pendlebury early in the year and Dangerfield, but what he is producing for Melbourne is incredible for a guy at this age to still be so important to them in the forward 50. He's in a red hot
14-8. 3 weeks ago, he had a game that was 5 goals, 6. They're crazy numbers. The short answer is, and this will be a long-term play, he's not the answer, though.
No, of course
That is not solving any problems if you're Melbourne. That does not fill you with confidence going forward that, hey, our 4-line problems are solved. A credit to him, though.
Yeah.
Like, that's a turn of form. That's been great.
He is a Band-Aid solution. Without a contract for next year, he will certainly get a deal and maybe a few extra clams in that contract. Well done to you, Jakey Melksham. Right, it was a nice game today with Sydney just pipping the Saints, who were quite brave in this one. And it came down to a thrilling last quarter, in particular, some massive moments, Joey.
Yeah, well, it was always going to come down to some moments in the 4th quarter. Again, it's a bit of rinse and repeat, though, for St Kilda their last month. Like, they've been excellent in their effort and their endeavour, and their opportunities just weren't good enough to win. It was the case against Collingwood, Fremantle, Hawthorn last week, and then something similar in this game here where Sydney were able just to... I mean, their stars stepped up. Hayward kicked a couple. This brilliant bit of play for Errol Goulden, who really wasn't one of the best on ground, which is unusual for Errol when he plays, but they just found the moments, and Warner and Goulden had a couple of touches late that just sealed the game. So well done to the Sydney Swans. They've recalibrated after that, really ordinary start to the season with some personnel back. But you had to like a lot about what St Kilda did.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, when the siren goes, you go, that's about right. That's the difference with the talent of both teams. And I thought the Saints were brave. They gave everything they had effort-wise, which you always expect with a Ross Lyon coach team. But that's just reality of where these two teams currently sit. The world's different with Errol Goulden as a midfielder, and Brodie Grundy's last 7 weeks have been exceptional. Once again, he was one of the top-ranked players on the ground.
Massive class difference between these two sides, let's be honest. But Brodie Grundy, we spoke about ruckman and All-Australian contenders. He is having some part of the season. He's had an absolute purple patch. And tell me this isn't the ruck tap of the season. It goes behind his back almost to Errol Goulden on the fly. Left hand, if you don't mind, absolutely perfect. They would have practiced that a lot, of course, but it doesn't get any better than that.
It's like a little 6 o'clock, meaning it's over the back of your head and you're running goal side, and it's Errol Goulden on his preferred left foot. Your ruckman does the tap and the midfielder finishes it off. That is perfection.
Perfect set play. You had Warner going on the right foot, Goulden coming around the left. Good luck, and pick your poison. They couldn't stop it.
You love that connection and cohesion. Right, it's time now for Health is Your Best Player, thanks to HBF Health Insurance. And unfortunately, it's not good news for the Gun Swans defender in Tommy McCartan. Now, we know he's got a concussion history, and there was this incident today in a contest there with Max Heath. So I feel this is you can see, just comes across and makes some contact with his arm. And
does that mean, has Max Heath got anything to worry about? Does that fit the criteria to what you said to me with
for me,
Sherry?
For me, I think that was more of a genuine marking contest. He had eyes for the ball. You slow it down frame by frame, and it is a genuine contest. McCartan just courageously sort of comes across into the pathway. So I think he'll be okay. Just the McCartans and the concussion issue.
How many has he had?
It's his fifth. It's his fifth concussion. He had the one in the final against GWS Giants last year.
Yeah.
He missed a lot of footy in 2023 with a couple of concussions. It's a serious concern. The way that he went down and stayed down for that couple of seconds. We know the history with the McCartan family with concussion. It's going to be something that they're going to have to seriously have a chat about, and where this rest of the season lays for Tom.
Didn't look to be a particularly heavy blow. Now, we are so excited about Alex Tarou. He looks like an unbelievable talent, one of the St Kilda's best young players for sure. But he had an interesting minute today.
Well, Dale, we have to have... Can we have a laugh about this?
I'm not a part of this.
You said to me to show this. This is Alex Tarou's 1 minute in the first quarter. Now, this kid is getting all the plaudits, and rightly so. Every St Kilda fan is falling in love with him. But he had 1 minute of madness, 1 minute from hell. That was just a great leveller of footy, and what the kid has really got to work through, because this was in 3 consecutive passages of play. He gave away 3 goals to the opposition. And in some ways, you sort of have to go to the young fella. Look, you've got a lot of the plaudits. You've had a great start. Unfortunately, footy comes back to bite you, and it was a moment that he'd like to forget. It put St Kilda on the back foot. They recovered really well after that passage. They kicked the next 5 or 6 goals, but that's just the reality of
That's
footy.
what you expect from young guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I love this kid. I think he's going to be... He's all-Australian quality. We've already seen his first 3 or 4 games. I hope he never takes his attack on the football out of his game. Never coach that out of him. And I can imagine Ross is saying, just go play football.
And that third free kick he gave away was because he tried too hard. So he'd given away 2 goals, and then he tried to check Aaron Francis.
But that won't be the last time
just knocked him over.
That won't be the last time this happens.
So,
that's what young guys do.
He'll be right.
We love the Flying Vikings.
Of course we do.
It's in any doubt. Right, it was Port Adelaide in an exciting game over West Coast there late in the day on Sunday, and an interesting battle, fellas, between the 2 number 1 picks, Harley Reid and Jason Horne-Francis.
Yeah, well, when we speak about Harley Reid, he's normally in a scuffle. You know, it'd be really nice to speak a little bit more about his football and where that currently sits. But, I mean, these are great matchups. And you think about what the game demands, and you've got to be competitive. These guys have it in spades. You cannot coach this out of them.
Yep.
And we love this. Like, you secretly love the toe-to-toe, chest-to-chest. And this happened the whole game. Now, you'd love to know what they were saying, because it wasn't just these two. Everybody had a turn at Harley Reid. I'd love to see a few more of Harley Reid teammate join in. Like, that, every team is coming from. You tell me another young guy that is basically the number 1 midfielder of their club in their second year. He's almost won out. I'd love to see more guys on his team stick up for him.
He's copped a lot of grief and a lot of criticism, even on this show. Is he getting enough credit for what he's actually doing?
Well, that's what we said. How hard it is.
It is a bit of a one-man band.
Of course it is. He's got nowhere near as much support in his second year. We spoke about this on First Crack Preview the other week, as a lot of these other guys. But it was great to see just 2 young competitive Bulls go at it. Now, clearly, Horne-Francis won the battle. His last quarter was enormous. He kicked a couple of stoppage goals. He had the 6 disposals, 3 clearances. So he stepped up when it was a tight game. And credit to West Coast. They changed their style a little bit. They're a bit more finding a few more marks, but in the end, the class of Port Adelaide, Zach Butters was brilliant, but Horne-Francis had the last laugh in that battle. But we're going to see those two, they'll go head-to-head for the next 10, 12 years, and it's going to be so much fun.
Harley Reid's going okay. For a kid in his second year and what he's put up with the scrutiny and the attention from the opposition, he'll be okay.
A big summer. If he can get fit, it'll be great to see him start next season. Fully firing, right. To tell you who's also fully firing, it's the On The Couch crew. They'll be excited for Mike Sheen's return. He's coming back, of course, at 7:30 on The Couch on Fox Footy.
Look who's back on the couch.
I don't think there's any chance of Mick being at Collingwood in any capacity next year.
This thought of playing State of Origin in the middle of February is either crazy or demeaning State of Origin.
He doesn't deserve to be in the team.
Monday, 7:30, joining host Jack Riewoldt and 4-time premiership player Jordan Lewis. It's Lethal Lee Matthews.
This is the exact incident you only see a handful a year where there should be a send-off for it.
And Mike Sheen.
Blokes seem to be making the same mistakes week after week.
2 great statesmen of our game.
There are real rumblings at Carlton.
Back on the couch, Monday, 7:30, right here on Fox Footy.
Kicked the last 4 goals. A lead at one stage that seemed insurmountable. Now they're in front. Now they are in front. Josh Dacos back out there, but Anderson straight out of the middle. puts it to Weller, keeps on going. The captain! Calling the captain! Noah Anderson. Glory awaits. And on their biggest night at home in footy history.
You know, we played an outstanding brand of footy, so, you know, I'm sitting here hoping that the city of Gold Coast jump on and look at this side and think, Christ, I want to be a part of this. You know, we're starting to build something I think that is unique, but also can be quite special.
Yeah, what a game it was on the Friday night, and what a win from the Gold Coast Footy Club. Showed grit, character, determination on the big stage. Their double chance hopes are still alive. Joey, we talk a lot about the Bont and Richards as the best midfield combination in the league. Is there any chance a couple of Suns are vying for their title?
They're not far away, Anderson, Rao. They are very close, and they are challenging because what they've been able to do this season has been outstanding as a duo. And we've lauded Noah Anderson for his leadership, and we've shown some vision of his fourth quarters. But in a game where it was up for grabs and Collingwood challenged and hit the front, I thought Matt Rao, his fourth quarter went slightly under the radar. And Dale, you'll get the Josh Dacos. I mean, that was phenomenal. Yep. But this guy's last term to have 7 disposals, but every single one of the 7 was contested. 3 of them were clearances. He laid 5 tackles. His will to win is what he's steering the Gold Coast Suns to their first finals campaign ever. He is the one that is leading this team with that desire and intent. I just thought it was enormous. It's a complementary duo that's as good as you get. It's a bit of Hayes Del Santo. The way that you've got the rough and rugged inside player, then you've got Noah Anderson on the outside. It reminds me of that. And I just thought Dell wasn't Rao. And then I thought but they were magnificent, the two of them. And Matt Rao's fourth quarter was unbelievable.
I loved the way that they handled the situation. So when we measure growth of a group, we look at the win-loss record. So the Gold Coast Suns have improved. We simply see that. But Noah Anderson kicked that goal with roughly 10 minutes to go. They had to hold on for 10 minutes and they got it done. And in the last, since the Pies won the flag, they've played in 29 games that have been decided by 15 points or less. They've won 21 of them. 21 of them. So they are the best closers of games. Yet this young Gold Coast team that is growing and evolving, and Noah Anderson goes behind the ball for the last 2 minutes. Like, they just see these situations. That wasn't happening last year. So that was a huge growth. Speaking about a great last quarter, you speak about Matty Rao. What about Josh Dacos going into the midfield? And what you learn again when you see this, we saw it with Nasai Wanganeen-Malira last week, good players can play everywhere. Now, maybe Fly McRae's realised, if things aren't going well, I've got another lever to pull. I don't know how many levers he needs, but he found another one. Look at these numbers for the last quarter. And there was a handful of tackles in there as well, 5. So he was brilliant. And what it says is there's fundamentals of our game that you must be able to execute if you want to play at this level or if you want to be elite. And Josh Dacos can do it everywhere. Wing, half back, and God forbid you need to throw him into the middle when things just aren't working. And nearly, once again, single-handedly changed the fortunes of that game.
One of the best performances of his career, no doubt about that. Huge on ball. Here's our BP premium performance of the weekend. Josh Dacos with that enormous last quarter. What did you make of the Magpies, Joe?
Well, there was a big significant shift in their ball movement from first half to second half, and a lot of it all had to do, order was restored when Scotty Pendlebury checked into the game, because in the first half, they could not move the ball, Collingwood, from the back half to inside 50. So the first half going under 20% from the back half inside 50, couldn't score. Look at the second half. 54%, they were able to move it from the back half to inside 50 and then score off the back of it. And it is still Scott Pendlebury, and we've spoken about this a lot this year, Jay, about he's the glue to their offence because he is the guy that just lives in the corridor. So this was the first half, so we know this is their style of play. When they win the ball back, they look inboard and they want to get their handball game going. And when they do, they are unstoppable. But it was just a bit clunky in the first half. They didn't quite get it right. Now, it's credit to Gold Coast, they're onto it. Every team in the comp knows this is what Collingwood want to do. So it's one thing being aware of it, it's another thing trying to stop it. But you could just see it just didn't quite feel right and they couldn't get it going. And then after half-time, on he comes, Jay, your boy, and he just lives up and down through the corridor and everything comes back through Pendles. And everything was back on track, and he was able to set up so much of the play. 17 disposals in less than a half of footy. He was able to have score involvement, some goal assist, and we know this is what they love to do, Dale. It is obvious, and Gold Coast, for whatever reason, just dropped away with their application to protecting the corridor. And we know that this is how they can get you the Pies. They can set you up and sieve you, coming back through the middle and back through Pendlebury.
Scott Pendlebury is our version of Tom Brady towards the back end of his career. Not quite as quick as he used to be.
Just manages the game.
Just manages the game better than anybody. And he's played more games than anybody. So how do you use that to your advantage? You come on. Now, whether this is the third quarter or the first quarter, there is no one better in our competition about playing out scenarios and managing moments and the flow of a game. He's the best, and he's utilising his experience and his age and the amount of games he's played to his advantage. That's his point of difference at the moment.
Slowest player in the AFL is also the smartest player in the AFL. He's been playing out that centre square for basically the past 4 years, exclusively there. You wonder whether other teams will start to guard against him.
Have to stop it.
For that point, because when he's not there, Joey, to your point, they can quite fall away. But he is, like you do, smooth as silk inside the centre square. Hey, Bobby Hill, good news for the Pies. He's missed the past 3 games and 4 of the last 7 for personal reasons. He trained on Saturday. He returned to training on Saturday, so I don't think he walked straight back into the ones. I think he comes back through the VFL, but if he can get a week or 2 of consistent training, we might see the Norm Smith medalist.
Which only makes them better. I wasn't scared off by their performance the other night. They were a team that just got hunted by the Suns that had to win. They didn't have to win. The Pies, they're in a good position.
Geordie DeGoey also coming back will be, and Brody Mychek as well. So some big ins coming for the Pies. There we go back. Brisbane's win over Carlton, Joey. A lot of focus on the Blues still because they have struggled a little bit, and a lot of talk about Tom De Koning because he's been out of the ruck playing forward. How are you rating out?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of talk about Tom, and we'll forget about him and his performance for the moment because it's been done to death. But I think all is okay without TDK if he decides to leave, because I think they have got more than a capable number 1 ruck that is sitting there, and that is Mark Pitnet. And these are his numbers against McInerney and Fort, 2 pretty experienced and good players. The hit-outs to advantage, he dominated. The clearances they won, and they're able to outscore a Brisbane Lions side that is elite at clearance. And when you actually take a look at his last 2 seasons, so since the start of 2024, now he's only played 18 games, but in those 18 games, he's a top 5 rated ruckman in the competition with what his actual impact is. So Sherry and Gawn, no doubt, the 2 best rucks. Jackson coming with a rocket, and Witts is always around the mark. But Pitnet actually does have significant impact with what he does. Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? So it gets underrated, and I think the Tom De Koning jumping out off the page at the start of the year maybe just sort of diminished a little bit of what Pitnet does. And we take a look at just some of the vision of his ruck work and his craft. There is no surprise that it makes a difference to their stoppage game when he is playing and what it does for the team. And he's a big body. He's 29 years of age. Carlton can save the $1 million. They can take the draft pick if Tom De Koning does leave as an early pick, get some more young talent and get a specific need, which is no doubt kickers and some guys that can run and use it. And I think that Carlton will be okay, as I've mentioned before. I don't think it's a full rebuild. I think they can reshuffle and rejig. And the flow-on effect is what it does for Paddy Cripps. Now, I know Paddy Cripps says he loves having Pitnet in the ruck. He feels that he gets a much better look, as we've just seen, and the numbers back it up. So since the start of last year, Cripps' clearance numbers are significantly better when he's got Pitnet rucking as a
which makes sense. Now, we've seen multiple times, and the Grundy Gawn one from a couple of years ago say if you've got 2 sort of number 1 rucks, which TDK is as well, it sometimes and often doesn't work. But what you've seen with Pitnet and what he's been able to do, and those numbers back that up, if you don't have the Gawn and you don't have the Luke Jackson, you just need the big body. Yeah. And you need someone to negate the opposition. I think Briggs has done this really well for a couple of years at the Giants. You just need someone to be able to bludgeon them and just take body for 2 hours every weekend, and he's done that really well.
That's amazing numbers because the bloke he's better than at Carlton's about to be paid $1.7 million at St Kilda.
So for a pay rise at the Blues.
Time for Pitto to stick his hand out, it's fair to say. What about for Brisbane, Zach Bailey, one of the most damaging players at the line?
I love what Chris Fagan's done over the last few weeks. So there's been significant change. McCluggage has gone inside. We know that. So Zach Bailey's played a lot more time on the wing. So here he is on the wing. They're going to the right of screen. He doesn't play wing. He plays as a 7th forward. He starts on the wing, and we've seen this probably in the past, and the easy example is to picture is Dustin Martin playing on ball. They just roll forward. Look at the gap. So he is now forward of the football all by himself. He's playing on Fantasia. Fantasia has no idea where he's going or where he is, but he rolls forward. So there's 2 options. He's either by himself or a poor defender of the Blues has to pick up an extra person. He sits there all day long. He's done this really well. So I see this as a great tactical move by Chris Fagan and the Brisbane Lions. How do they generate more scores? Well, you need to find other avenues. So you play 6 traditional forwards, and a couple of them are going really well, and you find your extra that comes up and then just releases forward. So here he is again. He's worked a half back, but he's only going one way. So I think Carlton and every team that they play going forward, you get a choice here. You either go head-to-head and fight fire with fire and play someone similar to him that needs to make him pay the other way. But if you get it wrong, that's what happens to you. Your other choice is you play a defender on the wing. So Nick Haynes could have played this role on the weekend. So the Brisbane Lions are going to the left of screen. He's already offensive goal side on Fantasia. He doesn't play defence. He is just waiting for a split second to get goal side of his opponent. He's damaging. Last week he kicks 5 goals, 1. So the lesson should have been learnt by Carlton and Fantasia. This week they got away with it. Just the 1 goal for and no scoreline. He had so many opportunities, plus the examples that we showed where he was just there and just didn't get used. There was other players, but I love the tactical move by Chris Fagan when they say, oh, we've tweaked a few things. That's the tweet.
It's a new position, the wingman that plays forward.
Love
We've seen Ollie Dempsey has revolutionised it, and other clubs are catching on. And he went there late last year, and it's a great bit of vision because it is a weapon that these teams are utilising now.
Excellent vision, Dale. He's getting lost in that forward half. But I tell you what, he won't be playing, or it seems that he's in line not to play this weekend because he's received a 1-match ban for a bump on Nick Haynes on the boundary line. Take a look at this. I don't want to get too far this time, Joey. So Zach Bailey comes in. They actually head clash. So the bump is to the sort of body, but there is a head clash between Bailey and Haynes, and under the AFL rules, if you're responsible for the head clash, it is a ban. You got your doubts on that one as well, Joey?
Gentle cheek on cheek, isn't it? It was all down the body. Did Haynes get up and play on? He didn't go off for HIA.
Felt his cheek for a little bit.
I won't argue with you on that one. I'll give you that one, but
I will.
like it.
I'd challenge that just out of principle.
I think the challenge is on from Brisbane, so they'll try and have him available for that clash against the Western Bulldogs this weekend. Will certainly be a big game. Tell you what, Fremantle's win over Hawthorn was a big game on Saturday night, and you had the midfielders, the Dockers midfielders, under the gun, Joey, and they fired in the 4th term.
Well, they did, but they had to wear down the Hawks again, and it's become a bit of a trend now because if you take a look at the last 3 weeks, there is a pattern, and it depends on which way you want to look at it, whether it's glass half full or glass half empty. But round 16, remember, for the first 3 quarters, they got smacked around the clearance, and they were able to rectify it and come from behind in the final quarter to win that game. Then against the Sydney Swans, the same. They were getting pounced around the ground and at centre bounce, and then they were able to rectify it. They almost won. They got within 5 points, couldn't get over the line. And then on the weekend against Hawthorn, it was a similar story. They were getting beaten around the clearance and scores from stoppage, but then the 4th term, they were able to wear down Sydney. So that's now 2 out of 3 weeks they've come from behind at 3-quarter time. So that's the positive. They'd only done that once in the previous 2 years, trailed at 3-quarter time and won. But, Dal, at the same time, they are leaving themselves a lot of work. This is meant to be their one wood. This is their great strength as a team. The 2 rucks, the talent. You just spoke about Caleb Sarong and how brilliant he is with Brayshaw and Shea Bolton going in there. But they can't, for the rest of the season and heading into finals, leave themselves with that much work to do around the stoppages late, even though they are wearing teams down. So it is a real positive, but they just need to fix it. Just something to keep an eye on.
I think if you're the coaching staff, you'd be patting the boys on the back and saying, hey, great response. That's grit, that's digging in. But we need to tidy up the first 3 quarters, boys. Like, that is not sustainable against the very best teams. Now, it worked once again against the Hawks on the weekend. The inside 50, 17-10 in that last quarter. So when you get your clearance game right, you get your contested possession right, which they did in that last quarter, you get better looks. Yeah. There's no other way to put it. You get the ball in your front half and you set up behind the footy. But does that stack up in finals? Can you get away with that when you're actually playing against Brisbane and Collingwood and the Cats and the big boys? So if I was the Dockers, and I'm sure they must know this, hey, we've got to tidy up the first 3. We are not a come-from-behind team. That is not sustainable for success.
And Ned holds some ascendancy throughout the 4 quarters in the on-ball department, as you say. That is their one word right. On Saturday afternoon, it was Adelaide with a statement over the Western Bulldogs. A really impressive performance. And it was the Crows' big forwards who dined out.
Yeah, the big 3, they were awesome. It was a powerful performance. And what I loved watching them live is how they get the separation, and they are never in the same contest. So Tex Walker in this situation goes, I don't need to be down the line. Riley Thilthorpe's there if the kick goes there. But what he does is position on the off ball in the chance that they come through the corridor or go to the open side, and then Thilthorpe rolls deep. Once again, Thilthorpe this time comes high up the ground because they need an outlet. They need the contested mark. Then the other 2 forwards reposition. So Tex this time stays down the line. He likes to come up. He's not necessarily the big contested mark. Then when they do bring the ball through the corridor, you've got your other forward coming out of the goal square. Now, in this situation, he doesn't get used, but the pattern is perfect. Lead up, create some space. Dawson gets the mismatch. He gets the free kick. And another look-off turnover. There are the 3 boys. Fogarty short, you lead up. The guy that's in the goal square, you now lead up and you create the vacuum around the back. Now, once again, Tex doesn't get used, but watch how it draws all the Bulldogs' eyes. And then Fogarty makes the right decision. Never, ever do you see the Adelaide Tools fighting for the same ball. And that's why they had 11 goals, 3 between them. They took 27 marks between them. They all had nearly 10 score involvements, and they took 10 marks between them inside 50. and they're increasing their inside 50 mark. So they were sort of mid-table first half of the year. The last 3 weeks, that's improved to 17, and that's why they are formidable. And it's a point of difference that is going to be scary for opposition teams.
Great vision, look very deliberate and strategic.
That's how you want to play it.
That's how it mapped out. They were missing their key defender, Jordan Butts, however, for a couple of weeks after suffering a punctured lung in an unusual incident. And the Adelaide Crows medical staff are still working through this because you can see the Sam Darcy whack to the shoulder or the sternum. This is when they think he popped his lung, but again, it's a little bit unclear. So Jordan Butts is still in hospital tonight. He'll spend a second night in hospital. He has been unwell. Now, it can sort of reinflate over 3 or 4 days and maybe misses only the 2 games, but we hope he's feeling well. Sam Darcy cleared, so no charge for that, no suspension, which is the right call, right? How many times did someone plough into your chest?
My
like that
children do that eating breakfast every morning. That's common practice. Now, whether that was the incident, it's sort of almost hard to believe. That was it. Oh, I saw Nasai Wanganeen Malira start the game with James Jordan behind him. They did that 3 times to each other just to introduce themselves. So I'm glad there was no report because there's nothing reportable there. A really unfortunate incident if that was the case.
Unusual.
Yeah, strange.
Very
strange.
Unusual. You can pop your lung just under exertion, running around. Anyway, he's going to have more tests, right? It's time for a short break. First, let's welcome Jack Heverin from PointsBet. Jack, what's your first crack?
Thanks very much, guys. Well, my first crack tonight is around the Rising Star market and closing curtain, we're calling it tonight. For much of the season, it's all been about Levi Ashcroft, the runaway favourite to win the Rising Star. But in the last 6 weeks, Dan Curtin of the Adelaide Crows is making a serious move. And you can see his numbers on screen right now. It's not only the disposals, it's about the scoreboard impact as well. And you can see why the Adelaide Crows have locked him away long term. So while for now, it still looks as though Levi Ashcroft will be the favourite when the season finishes, Dan Curtin making a very, very big move late in the season. He's now into $4 in the second line of betting. If you like a little bit of value, Murphy Reid now at $5. What a great season that he's had with the Fremantle Dockers. Archie Roberts at $7, and for the Demons, Harvey Langford coming in at $9. But this market is one to watch all the way until the final round of the season. If you like to look at this and everything else going on in this 2025 AFL season, we've got all of our markets on the PointsBet app. Enjoy the footy. We'll catch you next time.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of ways you can look at the game. You can look at it from a positive lens and say, you know, we were kicked a reasonable score for the amount of inside 50s we had. The other way to look at it is why we're only going inside 50 42 times. So
it was a really good win. Thought we showed really good maturity. Thought we remained composed even though the scoreboard wasn't going our way.
You know, we talk about effort indicators because that seems to be the topic that's come up. You know, you sort of plus 30 in contested possessions, but a little bit down on our pressure indicator, which is what we'd like, and probably largely due to the fact we couldn't take their marks off them.
Actually, the other thing I didn't say, that's our third 5-day turnaround for the year. That's more than any other team at the moment. I thought our blokes did a good job tonight to get up and play. Yeah. So.
We gave ourselves enough chances to win this game tonight. Got ourselves in a bit of a hole because we allowed the opposition to play too much to their strengths and we didn't execute ours.
It was certainly noticeable. Once again, sometimes I think, you know, when you've got a really good side coming at you, that's our learning and that's our growth. But what I was really happy with is once we did get headed, the boys got that back to work and got the result we were after.
I just think we adapted as we were challenged with injury. We were challenged by our oppo. We just kept adapting and in the end found a way to not crawl over the line, but just hang in there.
The 3 inside sort of real leaders in Marcus and Tom and Ed trying to will us over the line. We just didn't have enough today to complement their influence.
But we did give Rap them some opportunities with some ball use and some fundamental errors that haven't really been a pattern for us.
It felt like the first 10 minutes of the game, they had complete control and could have punched that margin out a little further. But we hung in there, kept it to 2 goals a quarter time, and then our midfield got to work, particularly at centre bounce. I thought it was a really strong display from our midfield for the most part.
yeah, credit to the boys. We fought it out. Wasn't the prettiest game, but when we're sitting where we are and going through what we're doing, or what we're going through on our build, yeah, we'll take these wins and celebrate them.
For us, I mean, it's trying to put on a sort of brave face and be positive and upbeat, which is what you need to be as a leader. But it's getting sort of hard to deny. It's not flattening.
Oh, Adam Uze was right Saturday night. Certainly was not the prettiest game, but well done to the Tigers. It's time now for Who Had a Crack, brought to you by Han. Great taste, low carb, how good, and it has to be Aaron Cabmandel.
He was superb, and you look through his numbers, that was his 52nd game on the weekend. And for those that doubt the evolution of a key forward, just wait. Give these guys an extra season or two. You look at his numbers where he sits right now, they're nearly exactly the same as Joe Danaher at the same time in his career. And he had a very, very successful career finishing with that premiership. He's kicked 16 goals in the last 4 weeks. Now, what I'm loving about him, Joey, in the last few weeks, and he had that big bag as well against the Brisbane Lions a few weeks ago, he's starting to get swagger. He's starting to have the presence and the walk and the strut. And I love that because I think if you're a key forward, particularly when you're young, you got to stand up against a lot of stuff coming out, and I love it. And they feed off it as well, the smaller players at his feet.
The belief's there. Just wonder whether they're the sleeping giants, Jay. The week before Gold Coast, they beat Brisbane, Gold Coast, Geelong. 3 contenders in 4 weeks. They've got a good run to come. Just keep a watch on the Giants. Wonder if they can be the team back end of this season that makes a big charge.
Tsunami is back. What about the Cats?
Well, I think the Cats will be fine. I know it was a poor performance, but they've got 4, 5, 6 winnable games right there. They'll start favourite in all 6. Sydney will be a challenge at the SCG. Other than that, I think they win all them, and they'll be top 4.
And 3 are
they'll be top 4.
Bailey Smith's efficiency just a little bit off, and Max Holmes was down for the Cats too. They'll look to bounce back to form. Taj Houghton, exciting debut for the Tigers, Joey.
It was the only thing positive to come out of this game. No, it was the worst game of footy I've seen. It was horrible, but this kid just showed enough, and he's going to be a star. Now, this was his first goal. With the nice little mark, but just watch a couple of other little things that might have gone under the radar that he did that just shows how special he's going to be. So just these little chase and efforts, but then watch this, the little dive, knock on, hit the space. He's got Shea Bolton sort of attributes with his agility and his creativity, like this ball here, able to get after it a couple of times, win a big 50-50 ball, and look, the little flick over the head to a teammate out in space. Last one here as well, look at this, wins it, again, the flick over the head, the handball out there. So he's just got some attributes, I think, that Richmond fans are really... Look at this one. Now, this was deliberate. He knew he was going to get tackled, so he tapped that ball through his legs so that he wouldn't get tackled. That's in his first game of AFL day. He's going to be an absolute beauty. Tigers fans are going to love him.
Tigers excited.
It was the only positive out of that game, by the way. Did I say that?
You did twice.
Not good news for Essendon on the injury front. Diabolical, in fact, because Nick Martin out for 12 months for the ACL, going to need a knee reconstruction. And also Will Setterfield, at least Frank Concern, out for the 6 to 9 months. Right, we'll be back with more shortly after the break. Welcome back to the first crack. Right, for our seeding segment, fellas, just pretend that you're 29 years old, you're coming to the end of this season and you're going to be traded. For a 2 to 3 year window, where would you want to go? Which club, if you could rank them, 1, 2 and 3? What's the
Money's the same? Money's the same at every club?
Money's the same. Where would you most prefer to land?
Here's my 4 choices. As I said, I think the Western Bulldogs will be in the sweet spot next year onwards. Go with them. Adelaide as well.
The defence.
Fremantle there, and then the Gold Coast Suns. They're the 4 landing spots I would like to go to.
OK, what about you, Dale?
My order is similar but slightly different. I'm going to start from the bottom. Adelaide Crows number 4, the Giants number 3, Geelong number 2 because they seem to win every 3rd or 4th year.
And they don't train. You'd like that.
And they don't train. They play a lot of golf. And the Gold Coast Suns, I reckon, in the best position to win a flag in the next 3 years.
You can't count in the Cats because they let you have a lot of time.
They sell lifestyle, Jay-Z.
Oh, my
Farms and golf.
I wonder if they'd be dangling that carrot to Carlton spearhead Charlie Curnow. Come down the coast, have some surfing, play some golf.
Maybe.
They get everyone else, maybe Darcy Parish as well. Cat's always busy in the recruiting space. Nick Del Santo, you've been fantastic.
Jay-Z. Thanks, Joe.
We love your work. Thanks so much for joining us on First Crack. See you Wednesday night on the First Crack preview. Good night.